Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most talked about developments in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. Ukraine has reportedly launched a new attack on Russia's Crimea Bridge, bringing both military strategy and international tension right back into the spotlight. In this video, we'll break down what happened, why this bridge matters so much, how both sides are reacting, and what the global implications could be. We'll also explore public opinion, international response, and what might come next. Stick around until the end to understand the deeper strategic layers behind this event and why the world is paying attention. So let's start with the basics. The Crimea Bridge, also known as the Kerch Strait Bridge, connects mainland Russia to the Crimean Peninsula, a region Russia annexed from Ukraine in 2014. From day one, this bridge has symbolized Russian control over Crimea. It is not just a transportation route. It is a political message cast in steel and concrete. Over the years, Ukraine has viewed this bridge as a critical military and logistical asset, one that fuels Russia's operations in southern Ukraine. Because of this, it has become one of the most important and controversial pieces of infrastructure in the entire region. According to recent reports, Ukraine claims to have targeted the bridge again using a combination of underwater explosives and possibly drone activity. Ukrainian intelligence officials have suggested that mines were placed strategically over time, designed to weaken or destabilize the structural support underneath. This is not the first time Ukraine has attempted to strike the bridge, but this attack stands out for a few reasons. First, it demonstrates the evolution of Ukrainian tactics. Second, it exposes vulnerabilities in Russia's defenses. And third, it shows that Ukraine continues to project its capabilities far beyond traditional battle lines. Whether the damage was severe or limited remains a matter of dispute, with Ukrainian officials celebrating success while Russian authorities insist the bridge remains fully functional and secure. Now, let's talk about why this matters. From a military standpoint, the bridge is a vital supply route. Russian forces use it to transport fuel, ammunition, reinforcements, and equipment. If the bridge is damaged or even temporarily disabled, it forces Russia to reroute supplies by sea or through more vulnerable ground routes. Delays can mean less ammunition at the front lines, slower medical evacuations, and longer reinforcement timelines. In war, delays can be as powerful as destruction. For Ukraine, even partial disruption is considered a strategic victory. But beyond the battlefield, there's symbolism. The bridge is a physical representation of Russia's claim over Crimea. Every attack on it sends a message not only to Moscow but to the international community. It signals that Ukraine will not accept the annexation and is willing to challenge Russia's presence there. It also fuels morale among Ukrainians, who see such operations as proof that their military can strike high-value targets deep behind enemy lines. Let's shift to Russia's reaction. Russian officials have publicly downplayed the incident, stating that the bridge is safe and structurally intact. They argue that traffic resumed shortly after the incident and that security forces have neutralized ongoing threats. However, social media activity and online chatter tell a slightly different story. Reports of traffic delays, increased naval patrols, and heightened aerial surveillance suggest that Russian authorities are taking the threat seriously. This is often how modern warfare unfolds. Official statements attempt to control public perception, while visible military behavior reveals concern. At the same time, Russian state media has framed the attack as reckless aggression, accusing Ukraine of targeting civilian infrastructure. This accusation plays heavily into domestic messaging, shaping public opinion and justifying further military operations. It's important to note that the bridge is dual purpose. It carries both civilian and military cargo. That dual use makes attacks controversial, raising legal and ethical questions that international law experts often debate. Meanwhile, Ukraine's messaging is focused on undermining Russian logistics and demonstrating capability. Officials argue that as long as Russia uses the bridge to supply its troops, it remains a legitimate military target. From Ukraine's perspective, disrupting enemy logistics could help protect its cities from bombardment and slow Russia's advances in contested regions. Now, how is the global community responding? International reactions are mixed, but unsurprising. Western allies tend to support Ukraine's right to defend itself and disrupt military infrastructure. They highlight that military supply lines are fair targets under the laws of armed conflict. On the other hand, nations attempting to remain neutral are urging restraint, hoping to prevent escalation. Meanwhile, countries aligned with Russia are echoing Moscow's narrative, labeling the attack as terrorism. This global division reinforces how the conflict has become a proxy battleground for geopolitical influence. The attack also raises concerns about escalation. Every strike on major infrastructure risks a strong response. Russia could retaliate with intensified missile strikes on Ukrainian cities, power plants, or transportation networks. We've seen this pattern before. An attack on Crimea often leads to retaliation deep inside Ukraine. The cycle continues, and civilian populations suffer the most. Analysts warn that this could result in another wave of displacement, power outages, and humanitarian strain. Another layer worth mentioning is technology. This attack highlights the increasing role of drones, underwater vehicles, and remote-controlled explosives in modern conflict. These tools allow smaller forces to challenge larger militaries asymmetrically. They are relatively cheap, difficult to detect, and incredibly disruptive. This could shape future warfare across the globe, as nations invest more heavily in autonomous systems rather than traditional firepower. Public opinion also plays a huge role. Many Ukrainians see this as a justified blow against an occupying power. Russian citizens, however, may feel anxious knowing that strategic infrastructure, previously believed untouchable, can be reached. When wars hit symbolic structures, they reshape psychological landscapes. They remind everyone that conflict isn't distant. It's real and immediate. Let's talk about what might happen next. One possibility is that Russia increases defenses around the bridge, deploying more ships, surveillance systems, and anti-drone technology. We could see the construction of protective barriers or underwater nets designed to intercept explosives. Another possibility is a shift in supply routes. Russia might rely more heavily on land routes through areas it controls in Ukraine, which could stretch its logistics even thinner. On the Ukrainian side, this attack could embolden further strikes on logistics hubs. Ukraine knows that each disruption forces Russia to spend time, money, and ammunition on defense rather than offense. As the war progresses, both sides are adapting rapidly. Tactics that worked last year might fail today. Every new attack becomes a test of innovation. In the long term, this event may fuel further diplomatic tension. Negotiations become harder when infrastructure is threatened. Trust dissolves, dialogue slows, and when communication breaks down, the risk of miscalculation rises. This is why international observers are watching closely, not just for physical damage, but for political fallout. Ultimately, this attack is a reminder of how infrastructure can shape war. Roads, bridges, and ports may not seem dramatic compared to tanks or missiles, but controlling them can decide who gains momentum and who stalls. In conflicts like this, logistics are often more valuable than firepower. As we wrap up, it's important to remember that information from conflict zones is often conflicting. Governments shape narratives. Media outlets interpret them, and truth can get lost somewhere in between. Analysts will continue studying satellite images, traffic patterns, and official statements to understand the real impact. Thank you for watching. And if you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more updates and analysis. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.